I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And we are SP Film Viewers.
And for the finale to our Monster March, we are going to be talking about a double bill of Godzilla of 1954 and the, I would say, remake, the American installment of 1998. So we'll start with Godzilla 1954, or Gojira, as it's known in Japan.
It sounds better than Godzilla, doesn't it?
Do you actually know what it derives from? That it's like a combination of two Japanese words.
God? Gorilla?
Gorilla and whale.
Why whale?
Because of the fact that he's able to be upright on land, but also be able to swim, and he's the size of him.
Yeah, that's so clever. So what do you mean? That Gojira?
Yeah.
Part of that is the gorilla, and then Jura whale? Am I being really naive here?
Possibly, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm assuming the kanji characters probably interpret as that, so yeah.
That's impressive. I get where you're coming from now. We'll go with the 1954 one.
To start with.
So, obviously it's in black and white, which it's not a problem anymore for me. It used to be. I used to be like, it's in black and white, I don't want to watch it. But I'm coming a little bit more cultured. Obviously it had subtitles, but that's not an issue. The characters within the film, there wasn't much character building. I didn't get upset about any character thinking we were going to lose them at any point, nor did I get upset about Godzilla.
Not at all, no.
Not much.
You didn't feel any attachment to anybody in particular?
No one stood out that much for me, really. In comparison to like the King Kong one, where I was like crying.
Yeah. Did you feel like there was any attachment to anybody in the 1933 King Kong in comparison to this one? Because obviously that was...
I think this one is obviously a lot better. It has got more content in the story.
It's quite a dark story. This is what I mean about it. It's sort of not being your average monster smashing through a city, because it has like the sort of dark undertones, like the metaphor for like nuclear disasters. The atomic bomb. There was Hiroshima, just come out of the war.
Yeah.
Not long after this appeared, and it's what it's sort of based around, really, this whole atomic power unleashed in Tokyo.
Yeah, it is. You do actually oddly feel 50s style to the film. And they are dressed a little bit more, I know you're going to laugh at me, like more like 50s style British US style to the movie, which obviously with it being Japanese, I assumed they would have a different style for that era in my head.
You're thinking more like the traditional style of clothing?
Yeah.
Like kimonos?
I guess so.
Okay, sure.
I do think, though, Godzilla was really, really well done when he came up on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll admit sometimes he does look a bit derpy in the way that his face looks at in certain angles. He does
not as derpy as King Kong.
Okay, yeah.
When there's a shot in the King Kong one and he's like trying to somewhat smile.
You mean the really close-up one?
Yeah, and I can never get that out of my head. I'm thinking This is just... So compared to...
Yeah.
You can see a couple of years has really helped.
Yeah.
With this process of actually making it look a little bit more realistic.
Do you think it worked well with the fact that instead of like a stop motion thing, which I think they would maybe had the inkling of doing, but it would have cost them a lot of money to go ahead with doing that and taken a very long time. So I think really they went with the whole rubber suit design. So do you think that worked as a concept, especially as the fact that he's a big lumbering monster and he's kind of reflects well enough to stomp through the city?
Yeah, it does. And I think as well, to be honest, the angles and the way that they have to do perception is really clever. A lot of
angles, to show like the scale of him,
And like you even said, which I didn't even realise until halfway through you pointed out, that it was like kind of a little toy city that this man was then...
Miniatures, yeah. So a full-grown man in a rubber suit.
I've kind of enjoyed that job. I think that's quite a good job to have.
Yeah, I don't think you would, because it'd be red hot in that suit. It'd be super boiling, because it'd be really heavy. It'd be like sweating buckets.
Depends on when they did it though.
What do you mean?
Whereabouts in Japan they did it, because there's some cold areas that can get.
No, I don't think. I think.
Is it in Tokyo? Is that kind of like what they were going for?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, was it what part of Japan were they trying to?
What does that matter?
I'm just wondering, because obviously because we've been to Japan, there's other parts where it is colder.
I don't think they went specifically to a cold area just because of the fact that it was. If that's what you mean, no.
No, they could be nice to him, couldn't they? Think, oh well, like you said, he'll be sweating buckets.
No.
Let's take him to like a colder area. So I think the black and white, like we said, didn't hinder it. It had a lot more depth to the black and white, I felt.
Because I think the darkness of it helped
But there was,
set the tone of the film.
there was still your whites as well. It wasn't like it was just all had a good grey tone to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, I think King Kong was a bit dark. I remember saying you couldn't really see much of things going on. It was a bit too contrast with.
Yeah.
And I think this actually had a good balance of your white and your black kind of tones.
Yeah.
And then your greys as well for your shading.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I did really enjoy it. But I was expecting, because obviously I was comparing it a lot to King Kong in my head.
Right.
So I was thinking, right, okay, this version is obviously a lot better than the King Kong version. So in my head, I really, really loved the second movie you made me watch of King Kong, like the remake.
Yeah.
That is really fond to me. So when you was like, oh, we'll put the remake of Godzilla, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to really, really, really enjoy this. But there's no comparisons, is there?
No, that's why I've done it this way, so that you can see what the original Japanese one and its incarnation of what is meant to be as perceived, and this remake.
It was quite cruel. This was actually what you did. You personally was quite cruel, because you're giving me high expectations of a remake, and then I was like, right, okay, I did enjoy the old version, black and white, the first Godzilla, but I was really, really looking forward to see how they'd adapted it and grown. So is there anything else on the Godzilla 1954 that you were wanting to add?
Overall, did you find that he was an effective monster?
Yeah.
The way he was portrayed and everything.
Yeah, and they did a lot of good trickery with the camera. So I do think it wasn't scary. Obviously, it didn't make me like Jaws, like kind of every 2 minutes he appeared. But I do think overall, for the era and the time of the film,
you feel it was quite an important piece of.
I think it was better than King Kong. I know, obviously, it was a lot older was King Kong, but I do think that Godzilla and this one was more realistic. I actually loved his design.
Okay.
I thought he had a really good design to him. And there were certain parts which, he looked a little bit, like, not so realistic, but it didn't take away from the film, I don't think.
No. Do you find the story itself was quite moving, powerful?
Yeah. Definitely, especially like you were saying, with how Godzilla had been created because of the atomic bomb.
Yeah, and the people that were involved with, how they were affected by it and how they were sort of influencing his rampage in a sense, because of how if they hadn't tried to drop depth charges into him to try and deter him away, it kind of made things worse, and that's why he went on the rampage.
And aggravated him, yeah. I don't feel like he's one of those actual typical horrible monsters. I don't think he's actually really malice. It's more like any animal, you provoke it and it will fight back.
Yeah, well, as the films go on, there's a fair few down the line after this one, but it kind of flits between being a good guy defending the city from other monsters, or sometimes he's just rampaging as well. It's kind of like almost like, oh, how am I feeling today kind of thing. But do you want to rate the film at the end after we're doing the other one? So, okay, right, so jump into the 1998 Godzilla one that I saw when I was about 9 years old in the cinema. And I guess this was my first proper introduction to Godzilla, because at that age, didn't know a great deal about, like Japanese cinema. It wasn't really easy to access it, and back in at that period of time on videotapes or whatever. So
what did you make of it when you first saw this film? I can imagine your 9-year-old self.
Oh yeah.
Dinosaur!
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's essentially what the design is, in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah. I was a bit like, wait a minute, what is this? This isn't Godzilla. I'm not understanding what's going on. That's something like out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just literally a big version of T-Rex.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's not even the same size as how Godzilla is in the 1954 version. 10 times the size of a building, whereas Godzilla's just about the height of a building.
Yeah, it was. But then I'm guessing, is that because the buildings were bigger because it was set in New York? Is that what they were kind of? I don't know.
Well, no, because in the new ones you've seen a bit of the the King of the Monsters one, that the newish iteration of Godzilla, and he's absolutely huge, and he's towering above, way above the city's sky.
I think as well that's what I'd got into my head. So when I just thought this was the design of Godzilla, was that kind of clunky,
big
tail.
Yeah.
So initially, when the first glimpse you get of Godzilla in this movie is when they're on a boat.
Yeah.
And he flicks his tail.
Yeah.
That confused me, didn't it, initially from the get-go, because I was like, is it like a giant octopus in the water? I'm not sure what's going on this part. And he was like, oh no, that's Godzilla. And I was like, oh, okay. And you were kept so quiet. You didn't even blink, or muffle that this would look different to me. So I wasn't aware. I was going in blindsided.
Mm-hmm. Well, funnily enough, I think at one point I might have read somewhere that the Godzilla concept initially might have been like a big giant octopus type design.
So that wouldn't have worked with the Gojira, would it?
No, but I don't know if it...
So there was then the main lead, which for quite a while I was like, I know him. I'm pretty sure I know him. I really do recognise it. And it was getting, when you gets on your nerves.
Yeah.
When you're watching somebody, you're like, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you from? And you pointed it out to me, didn't you? That it was Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget, aka Matthew Broderick, who's
apparently so handsomely gorgeous, and it's like
everybody wants a piece.
He's really not, and it's like he's just laughable, that part in itself. It's like you've got this main character and he's meant to be really, really dishy, and it's like all I can look at you is your Inspector Gadget. I can't now that you've told me this, step away from that.
Yeah. I
can't, and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, no, and his voice is a bit insipid.
Yeah, I don't find him as a very good actor, to be fair.
No, it was quite poorly done. But it's like his voice wouldn't be a swooning, oh, you're so handsome kind of thing, would it?
No.
So, you kind of have, you have about maybe three or four main characters in this story. Yeah. So you've got obviously your main man, which is Inspector Gadget. You've then got this lady called Audrey with blonde hair, and she's like the worst actress ever.
Oh gosh, she's terrible. Worse than him, I'd say.
She is worse than him.
The only other thing I've seen her in is an episode of Friends. I couldn't tell you anything else she's been in.
Was she Rachel's sister or something? Or?
No, she was just like a fling of Joey's, I think.
Oh, that sounds about right, actually, yeah.
But that's all I know. I couldn't tell you anything else she's been in.
If anyone else does know what she's in, let us know.
If she's any better.
Then you've got Animal, that's what he's called, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now, straight away, I was like, oh, I know him. Don't know his name, don't know his actor's name. Just know that he was in American Sweethearts, which is obviously going back to my rom-com days. You won't even know what I'm on about.
No.
Not. And he was this absolute sleazeball. I was saying to you, he's a sleazeball. His character was a sleazeball. And basically, pretty much somewhat was a sleazeball. Not as bad as a sleazeball in the American Sweethearts. Because he's just like, he's an Italian, like, greasy thing. Whereas in this one, he actually has an American accent, which does give him a bit of does actually sound better.
Right.
And you've got his girlfriend, or whatever she is to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say that's kind of like your main character. So you've got Inspector Gadget, Worm Man.
Worm Guy, as he must be.
Worm Guy.
Yeah.
Animal, which we don't even know why he's called that.
No, it's just a nickname.
Which I think is really bizarre, because straight away when you say animal to me, I think of the Muppets.
yeah, exactly.
And then two ladies.
I mean, the wife of animal isn't really a main lead as such, more of a side character. She's just sort of there.
Yeah.
The other main person being the French guy.
I'd completely forgot about him.
That's pretty much what he's referred to in.
Yeah, he is. He kind of comes in though at the back end, doesn't
More
he?
so, yeah. He's kind of there in bits, kind of just like cut in between the men.
And I swear to God, I kept going, he's a baddie. He's a bad person.
I think that's what the film makes you want to really believe, but it's
so
kind of
gullible. And I was like, I don't like him. He's up to something. So you've got all that going on, and you've got obviously Audrey wanting to be this amazing reporter.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you've got Worm guy inspecting his worms, because obviously it's Inspector Gadget, so what else would you think he would be doing? So then, there's this one scene where they kind of take him for this job. He's like, I'm not finished looking at me worms. And they're like, well, we've got something bigger for you to do. Come on, come along. And he's like, no. He's like, these worms are important. So then they basically take him to the...
I believe it's off the coast of the French Polynesia or something like that.
Love how you're so factual. I wouldn't have even remembered that. I just remember there was a big dirty footprint.
And he's standing in it.
He's
like, I don't see it.
I don't understand what sample I'm meant to be searching. And it's like, you joking me? Are you really kidding that you can't see that that's
but even,
a foot?
Even when I was that age and I'm thinking, again, maybe it's just because of the fact that when it zooms out slightly above, you can see that we know from the perspective that that's what he's standing in, but it's kind of like, what are you talking about? You're in the footprint. How do you not know you're in the footprint?
Well, do you know what I want to say? How did he get down there in the first place? Do you not know he was in a footprint?
Jump down or whatever.
You'd literally seen it walking up to it, that it was a footprint. So when you're inside it, unless somebody's literally just flung you out of an aeroplane, I don't really get it. So there's that scene, and I hate stuff like that because it's like proper cringe. It's like, it's so put on, you're in a footprint.
He doesn't know.
He does. The actor knows what he's in, and he's such a bad actor that he didn't even convince me, that he didn't even realise. I think even he knew it was stupid what he was doing. This is... Like, there's so many stupid lines.
Oh, there's so many stupid lines in this film.
Like, just fodder filling. Like...
Yeah, the film... I can't believe the film is... When I even, looked at the back of this case, I didn't realise the film was 2 and a bit hours long compared to the original, which is... got the story done in an hour and a half.
I understand, obviously, even King Kong, that was a lot longer. However... There's it improving it like you did with King Kong and then wrecking it like you've done with Godzilla.
Yeah, it's filling with pointless scenes or dialogue that doesn't need to be used.
There's a lot of things that could have been cut out. There was one line which I really, really liked, which I wrote down because it made me chuckle. I don't know what it was relating to now, and you did say to me, you wrote that down and you're not going to know what to say. But they were saying that there was shops getting looted. Mm-hmm. And even the Disney store, and it was like they're just name dropping these stores, and the only one I actually realised was the Disney store. I'm thinking, in a time of need, let's all go to the Disney store and get us cuddly teddies because we're going to need them. It's like, who's going to go there? Who's going to loot the Disney shop? And if you're going to have to loot the Disney shop, then you've got serious problems in life. So I was a bit like, I'm sure they're just name dropping Disney as to look somewhat good. I really wanted to like this film, really, really did, and you didn't tell me anything about how rubbish it was going to be. So obviously you're building your characters. There is a lot more character building, but still the characters that you've got
are so weak.
Yeah, but the acting is weak. They've got a good story.
Do you think?
But they need people to actually invest in the story. You need your actors to feel it.
Yeah, they really don't.
No, and you need to shorten it and put some better lines in.
Tighten it up, yeah.
You could make a good film out of this if you retweaked it again and refined it and put the right design of Godzilla in it.
So, redo the whole film then, basically?
Something like that, I guess. Yeah.
Right, okay.
So referring back to the lines as well, which I'm not going to take your thunder because you did point it out, and we have to pause at this point because it proper made me chuckle.
Well, yeah, and when you've got genius lines like, "That's a lot of fish," and then it's like, yeah, what would you say to that?
There was like an awkward silence.
Yeah, it was.
I even felt awkward.
Was that where he's supposed to laugh or something? It's like,
It must have been, but it was like, well, you just stating the obvious. I can see. Yeah. There's a lot of fish. You don't need to point that out. Yeah. So obviously, with the lot of fish down, and you're luring Godzilla to trap him. Do you know what? Get the job done. Big trap, like what you do with the mouse. Put loads of fish over it. He goes to put his head in. Boom. Neck's cracked. Dead Godzilla.
That'd be a big trap, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. But in hindsight, it's like shooting at it, then it running away, and it's like, well, any animal's going to run away or attack.
Yeah.
You need something to kind of bolt it in one place. If you got the head trap thing and then you trapped it in it didn't kill it, you could then shoot at it, I guess. The strategy wasn't...
What's the US military, so it's kind of just like, oh, just shoot, ask questions later, kind of
thing. And it was like,
well,
you just fueled it with a load of fish. It's got a belly full of fish now.
Mm-hmm.
It's got loads of energy because it's ate loads. And you've provided that, and now it's running round lengths round you.
Yes, pretty much running around the whole city while they're trying to shoot in. I find it funny. I think what I take from this as being the good thing is the fact that how sort of clever Godzilla seems to be. He always seems to get one up on them all every time. It's kind of like, oh, you're going to shoot missiles at me, I'll just duck and blow up your buildings. Yeah. It's kind of...
I do like, actually, the Godzilla character. I think, if anything, he was like the most comical out of it all.
Yeah, he seemed the best. Seemed to foil their attempts. Yeah.
And to be honest, you couldn't really fault him apart from his design. Like, his design wasn't poor, don't get me wrong. It was just not what I expected. Because obviously I'd seen the original.
Yeah.
And I just assumed I shouldn't. But I did. That it would be the same. Like the newer one.
Mm.
So I got it in my head that it would be somewhat refined like that.
Yeah.
So you'd be a bit bulky, but yeah.
Yeah. But he's got...
I understand why they've done it, because of obviously the way that...
They want it to be more streamlined so he can run around and...
Cause havoc.
Hide a bit more easily and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. When did Jurassic Park come out?
That was 1993.
Right. I was just wondering if there was anything to contend with that, maybe.
No, not really. No.
So, you then have an idea of where Inspector Gadget is doing his little inspecting, and he's found out that Godzilla is pregnant. However, Godzilla is a boy.
Yeah, he's reproducing eggs asexually.
So, this is obviously a big concern.
This is where they have to pad out the story some more with this. This is the leading into the second act, it's going into the third act, I suppose, to make the story bulk out some more. It's like, oh, because they didn't have that in the original one. Or
no, they didn't.
Ones. And we've got to have more little Godzillas.
Well, this is what reminded me as well of the Jurassic Parks. This is why I was asking the question, because in Jurassic Parks, doesn't it, that basically the male does obviously regenerate.
Oh no, sorry, all the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are all female. They're genetically engineered that way so that they don't produce eggs.
But they do.
But they do, because with the DNA, some frog DNA, some frogs can swap between male and female on a whim. So that's how that works.
That's what I was thinking. I'm thinking, they're just stealing all their ideas from Jurassic Park here. Well,
maybe well done.
So, within that in mind, obviously, then they have to find these eggs if they have been laid, because obviously, otherwise, you're going to have about 6 or 12 other little baby Godzillas running around.
A lot more than that.
A lot more, because they don't anticipate how big it's going to be. So, Audrey steals her boss's pass, and then she's trying to be a real life reporter, because that's why she dumped Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, going off to be a big news reporter in New York, yeah.
Yeah, which she's still secretary?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, she's...
Yeah, like a PA or something like that. I don't think she's even as high up as a PA. So she's thinking, oh, well, I know this guy. I'm going to get all the gossip and all the juice. And she actually, apparently, is always a nice girl. And she's been told not to be nice anymore. And she pinches this tape off Inspector Gadget and reports it.
He's them with the military trying to warn them about the eggs. Suddenly, the news report broadcast comes on with the confidential information from the tape.
So this obviously then gets him fired, pretty much. And he's like so shocked. Like, I haven't told anybody. Oh, wait. Actually, I told my ex-girlfriend. And it's like, well, she's your ex-girlfriend. Maybe you shouldn't trust her. Yeah, just thought.
Yeah, that was pretty wooden as well, wasn't it?
It was really weak. And it was like, actually, you deserve it because you're just so stupid that you're just willingly telling this pretty girl anything that she wants to hear.
So after that, he's basically packing his bags and going to the airport. But then he's sort of captured by the French lot who are wanting to... I sort of didn't realise that they were the reasoning behind why Godzilla exists from their atomic testing or bomb testing.
Yes,
it's been created, so kind of like, we're going to rectify the problem. So that's why their involvement is as it is. So they obviously have him on board to try and help them find their nest of eggs.
Yeah.
To, get rid of them.
But you do have that scene beforehand as well where Audrey's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. I didn't think they'd fire you. And I'm like, well, you've just publicised things that you shouldn't be telling people as of yet. And then you didn't realise that he would get fired from this. It's like, how blonde actually are you? Like, to not believe that would escalate to that. So, yeah, this guy that steals him, because he kind of locks the doors, and I'm like, oh, he's definitely bad. I don't know where he's taking him, and I'm like proper convinced he's a bad Frenchman. But he is actually trying to correct the mistakes that they've done.
Yeah.
So they realise there's a lot more eggs around.
Yeah.
Even with the eggs, so it's like, oh, well, you found them. Now what are you going to do with them?
They start placing some explosives, but I think they didn't really anticipate how many there was going to be to run out of explosives to do anything with it. So we've got a problem here. But it's also at this point that the military have managed to take Godzilla down with some submarines things. So that's part of the story. They're thinking, oh, Godzilla's dead. But even I think I knew back in the day that this isn't the end. He's just
even said to you, he's not dead.
Because he's still got all this time left.
And I didn't feel like he
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it wasn't like everyone. That's it. Wrapped. Job done. Let's go. Yeah.
Even though he fell, it was like I wasn't convinced, and nor was I shocked.
Maybe it's just how you perceive from other films these days, where you think, oh yeah, that's done in such a way that it's not really. That's not really how it ends.
It's not that way.
Yeah.
So obviously you get Animal, which is a character of quite annoyance. And he's like, I've got to film him. And there's one bit where I'm like, he's going to stand on him. And I know we're flitting to the beginning.
Oh, right, jump back. Yeah. That's the first initial.
It was like, it seemed that Godzilla picked who he wanted to injure and who he didn't. It's
what
like,
do you mean?
He knew. Like, I was like, yeah, squish him, because I didn't like him as a character, and I didn't like him in American Sweetheart. So I was like, I would have got some enjoyment out of seeing him being squished by Godzilla. Mm-hmm. Did it happen? No. Obviously not, because he's a main character. But even when Inspector Gadget had the fish down, Godzilla was obviously, he was like sniffing kind of, in a sense, and was being a bit more calm, and it's like, actually no, he's actually a nice creature. But then if you kind of attacked him, you seem to kind of comically know which ones to kill off, in a sense.
Right. Jumping back to the eggs when they hatch, what do you make of the way that they're done, the design of them and the way they move and everything?
Just look like tiny T-Rexes, or like in the Jurassic Parks again,
Velociraptors.
More like that. So you had your big T-Rex, and then you had your
small.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. They looked more like a bit like electronical.
They look very much like, you tell they're more puppet type things, whereas obviously said before how Jurassic Park was filmed in 1993.
Mhm.
This is about, 5 years difference. And yet, the animatronics on that look way more realistic and believable. And even when you're doing this CGI stuff, it looks way more believable than what these ones do, which is quite weird, considering the advancement of time and technology, you thought, but they kind of just didn't come across as...
No, they didn't come across as realistic, and I didn't seem to be as scared of them or think anything of them. It wasn't like a... I feel like that scene should have been a lot more, like, gripping.
I think, as a small child, I thought them to be effective, but now I don't find them that convincing.
And I think as well, especially when you're at that age and this new technology's come out to kind of do all this kind of fangangles, which is impressive. But when you're reviewing it back and comparing it to other films, when you're more of an adult self, you think actually just kind of copied quite a bit of Jurassic Park's. I felt like they did, especially with the designs and stuff. And it was like basically you've kind of just put Jurassic Park in New York.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got Audrey and Animal following Inspector Gadget and his French man.
Do you actually know what his name is?
No.
Nick.
I feel like it's that piece of information that I don't really need to retain, so I don't.
Okay.
It's like
a case of... Nick is easier to say than Inspector Gadget.
But in my head he's just Inspector Gadget. That's all I know him as.
Nick to Topolis, which is like every opportunity where it can mess up his surname is said. That's more earlier on in the film.
I actually didn't know.
Dapper this or whatever.
Like, didn't notice that.
Exactly,
because I don't know, I just didn't seem to gel with it. So it was like I didn't even care if they said his name wrong. I wasn't bothered. I was just like, what is going on?
So he's with the French guys.
Yeah. And obviously you've got Audrey following with Animal. I'm sure they cause more havoc, the two of them.
You think?
Yeah. Because like there's certain noises and I'm thinking that probably has made that egg hatch. And basically then they have to... all the eggs kind of are hatching.
Same time, yeah.
So obviously they escape, but they could have actually just had a scene where they killed all the eggs off.
There was a bit, wasn't there, where you were like, oh, come on. When they're running out of the building and Nick gets, like, those gumball machines and basketballs and just tips them on the floor, and then the dinosaurs, the baby Godzillas are all slipping on
dinosaurs, aren't they?
Slipping on like some kind of cartoon.
It wasn't realistic whatsoever. It really wasn't. You were just looking like, who's thought of this now? It's like you felt like Tom and Jerry should just come out. It'd have been more enjoyable, to be honest. I would have, at least you know what you're getting with Tom and Jerry, don't you? Whereas this film, it felt a bit all over the place.
No. And then it's just about when they get out of the building, it's, I swear to God, when it's saying like, how much time have we got left before the bombs come along to, blow up where they are in Madison Square Garden. And it's like, we've got less than 30 seconds. It's like, by the time
it's the longest.
It's 30 seconds, it seems, for them to get out of the building. There's no way it took them that less than 30 seconds to get, shoot the things down from the ceiling so they could get moved past and get past all the dinosaurs. Call them dinosaurs now.
Yeah.
Without being attacked, as, think, why are you getting free passes? They should just be going, eating you as you're going past, not just going, be cautious.
Well, maybe it's because it's a baby and it's only just been born.
No, but he attacks half the French guys, no problem.
It's because of the main characters, isn't it? Yeah. But it's a case of, really, it's unrealistic, isn't it? Just not realistic on how a animal would attack, nor... They wouldn't have got out alive.
No, they wouldn't. But
the amount of dinosaurs or Godzillas there were, they should have all died.
Especially they were close proximity to the building blowing up anyway. They did get out just in time, of course.
Oh,
but then they and then they fall down just like a couple of meters away from unscathed. And then they're like, yes, right, we did it. But then Godzilla pokes his head out of the rubble again. And it's like, oh, you killed my babies.
I'm going to have you. Yeah. Then he's not happy, is he?
Yeah, and again, terribly performed expressions from Nick and Audrey. He's, overdoing it, and she's not, like almost stone faced, kind of like, oh,
expressionless,
yes.
like not even petrified
Right.
about this thing. I think she was thinking, where am I meant to be looking? Where's this meant to appear?
Yeah, but yeah.
So I don't think I really feel sorry for Godzilla when he dies.
Yeah, he gets shot in the side when they have him caught on the Brooklyn Bridge.
So it's a case of that they end up killing Godzilla, but you don't really get.
You feel unsatisfied, really, don't you? And then
Yeah, it's
kinda
like,
just
well, what happened? Did
Yeah.
anyone say, well done, Inspector Gadget, you were right about the eggs, you deserve a promotion or something like that, well done, Audrey, you're like, and
No,
then
it's just a lot of news reporters just crowding around him and such.
you just thought there might have been like or maybe Audrey and him might have got together or something
Well,
like
I think
that.
that's implied.
I'm not going to lie, I was disappointed and I was like, this is a bit of a waste of my time. I don't think I'd say to anybody, please go out and watch it. I don't think I know I wouldn't.
No, if you want better Godzilla films, there's even the ones that are a bit more goofy of the Japanese persuasion, then it's a lot more entertaining than this one, I'd say. Not that I've really seen them myself, but I just know from seeing clips and stuff on YouTube and stuff, but you can probably get a lot more out of that than for comedy value. But lastly, the film ends with the whole, there's one egg survived the blast.
Of course there is, because they're going to have to make another movie, aren't they?
Well, they didn't, but
No,
I think that probably was the intention, to have a thing. But I'm assuming, never really saw it, but there was a animated series, like a follow up.
That sounds better.
Where I think it was that egg, it did hatch, and then it developed into another Godzilla iteration.
So that's it, pretty much, in a nutshell. I wouldn't say go see it, go buy it now. You must. Unless you want to see how rubbish it is, then yeah. If you want to waste about 2 hours of your life, then go for it. It did wind me up a little bit when I was watching it, because it's like, why am I watching this? But then I was like, I can't stop watching this now because it's so rubbish. I need to know how it ends.
I knew, as I thought you would, see it from the perspective of how vastly different this is from the original.
Yeah, and it was like the design, it just threw me off. It was just like that's not Godzilla. I'm not watching I didn't feel like I was watching a Godzilla movie.
What do you think the Japanese felt when they...
Oh, I'd have been so miffed if I were them. It's like, how dare you Americans come over here and decide to pinch my ideas. And
Well, they had the rights, but I think it's just like... But I don't know what they would think with the design, really.
It's just shocking.
Yeah.
There's no originality, is there?
Not such, no.
No, it's just a dinosaur.
Doesn't even have atomic breath or anything like that. It's just...
It don't have its spikes.
It does have spikes, but not as...
Not like Godzilla spikes.
No. Not dorsal, no. Fins, no.
Obviously, we've been lucky enough to go to Japan, and we did actually have an experience in the
Godzilla Hotel. And there's a big Godzilla head at the top of the hotel.
So either if you like spending time at the hotel, like if you sleep in there, or if you eat there,
yeah, you
can go outside. So me and Paul were like, well, yeah, we're definitely doing that. And it's like, so I think because I'd seen that is Godzilla, to kind of then see this, it was just a bit like, I don't get it. Because obviously what I've got just so stuck in my head. I've never actually watched a Godzilla film, so like we went to Japan and Paul was like, oh, there's a Godzilla at the top of that. And you could hear him roaring and everything. He was like, oh, we're going to have to go. And then I've obviously seen the back of this. And actually, from that, I think obviously the love of our love for Japan.
Japan, though, yeah.
I think if this film had Godzilla's design right, it didn't need to be as long.
Definitely didn't need to be that
Better
long.
actors.
Yep.
It could be a good film if they had changed
just
all that.
Yeah, overhaul, basically, of it. So with that in mind, we just rating that first and then come back to the first.
Oh, it's tricky.
Okay. We shouldn't be that tricky for this one. But where you've been slagging it off.
No, it's just more trying to go with... I'm more worried what I'm going to do for the Japan one. I think I've got in my head for the other Godzilla one.
Okay, right.
So I think I'm gonna say
Which is this one for? Sorry.
so the first Godzilla.
The Godzilla.
Gojira.
Yeah.
Gojira. Yeah. So I'm giving it a 7.
Okay. Right.
Well, like a 7. I don't think it's an 8.
Right.
But it is. I think because obviously it's an old film, and you've got obviously, it's more for the love of Japan, the love of the culture,
Yeah.
the love of seeing Godzilla.
As he should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit lackluster with your characters, which to
No,
me,
let's sit down. Right. Okay.
yeah, I like a good character felt, and I didn't feel anything for the characters.
Okay.
I think as well, it's going to be like what I did with the King Kong one. It's more understanding how they did the filming that appeals to me more.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's all right. Okay. That justifies that.
Okay. And what would you score?
I'd say it'd be an 8.
Okay, so we're not too far apart,
No.
really. Yeah, that's fine. And why is yours so highly marked?
Just because how much of an impact it's had on the whole franchise. That was the starting point. How it's come to be. It's kind of how it's really quite important in terms of its message of what it is about. Really, the cultural thing behind it, rather than just it is a monster film, but it has just happens to have one, and the whole message behind it of being like the metaphor, as I say, it's
got depth to it, hasn't
more
it?
depth to it.
So, the
1998 one. Just call it the American version.
The American version. I would say I would score that a 4. So, in comparisons with the 7,
Yeah.
now this has been a 4,
Yeah.
which I'm not a low scorer normally, but I enjoyed it to watch, to pick it to parts.
Yeah. There's sometimes it's good to have a thing where you can do that, to sort of like laugh at what went into it, and
that was the
or not so much if it's.
That was the only bit though. That's the main part of why it's got so a bit more scored.
Yeah.
Because it didn't aggravate me to the sense of like Borat.
Okay. Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't that infuriating.
No.
No.
But it was still a little bit like, it was just a lackluster of acting. I spent so much money possibly on the design and the movement, which then they didn't actually spend the money on the actual actors, and it's like, well, the best part was
They probably did spend quite a lot on it, I imagine.
Godzilla, but then he was spoiled for me because he wasn't Godzilla.
Yeah.
He was just a dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
So, what score?
Well, it might shock you to say that on reflection of what is, I've seen it a fair few times now, obviously since when I was a wee lad and everything, but it is, I'd say it's probably also a 4, maybe 5. A very slight push, mainly because
Generous.
Generous, yeah. Because it's funny to look back through and go, pick holes in of how atrocious the acting is in it, the line delivery, and just all this filler nonsense that goes on in it. It's like, I can't believe. And again, how I didn't know it was about 2 hours and a bit long. I don't know, and it does. To think about it now, it does drag a fair bit.
It did. I think we did actually have a tea break, didn't we? Because it was like, it's going on for a bit of a long time. I need a cup of tea now.
To see me through, but I guess part of it also is the kind of, I know like the design isn't particularly great in comparison, but I guess it's sort of because it's the real first introduction to the whole Godzilla thing, even though it's not the true representation of him, the only by name really. As I've grown older, branch out and seek out the true nature of what he's supposed to be and everything like that, and also the fact of how funny it is that Godzilla seems to get one up on the military or whatever when he's been doing stuff. So that was that. Even when I was rooting for him as a little kid as well, because I was like, I'm not interested in the people.
Go dinosaur! You loved dinosaurs, didn't you, when you were little? This is why we've kind of done this monster march kind of thing, because you're really into this, and I've not. really stepped into that world.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question now that you've given your scores on those. So, is there a particular favourite out of the 4 groups that we've seen this month?
Yeah.
What was it?
Can you read my mind? Do you
I have a feeling it's going to be... It's going to be Jaws, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. He's up there, though. He is, but it's not Jaws.
Okay, if you want to rank it in order, then.
Oh, okay.
So, based on the group load of things, so that obviously you've done double features of things, but we'll do it by that. So, your least... Or is that going to be too tricky?
No, it's not.
Okay.
That was the host.
Host. It's number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to get tricky. I think then it's going to go Godzilla.
Right, okay.
Then Jaws. Yeah. And then, obviously, King Kong.
Okay.
It is the second remake of King Kong.
The Peter Jackson one,
Because I cried, and I would have King Kong. Like, if I was his golden girl hair, I'd be like, I'd be quite happy in King Kong's arms. I won't be bothered. Okay. If any monster was going to come and get me,
you want it to be...
I'd want it to be King Kong.
Okay.
Because he'd look after me. He's not going to kind of bite me and kill me.
Not like the 33 one, where he's...
Yeah, exactly. No, so he is caring, and he has got a human side to him, whereas all the rest are just a bit... malice and want to
animalistic,
trick you.
realistic in base, basically,
Yeah, you don't see that kind of animal cruelty in the others as you do in this in King Kong.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
So, do you agree with my?
I thought that's probably what you were going to go with, really.
Are you surprised at how highly Jaws is up there?
Well, I didn't know if it's just because you've had. I know you've had a sort of semi-bad experience with it, but I thought it's kind of because it was. You sort of enjoyed it because it was kind of a thrill, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did have a good storyline.
Yeah.
To it, and not meaning Godzilla wasn't great. I feel like for Godzilla it was the remake that let it down.
Yeah.
If it was just the original, it might have been a different story. But
yeah.
So how would you rate yours? Would the host be the last one for you? I feel like out of all of them, though, that is the weakest one. I just didn't really enjoy it that much.
I think
it's really tricky for you, isn't it? Because you're more of a love of these.
Yeah, it's going to be different to yours though. Host is going to be at the bottom though.
Copycat.
There's not a great sense of attachment to that as such, though I've seen a fair few times.
I'm just interested to see where you're going to put King Kong.
Well, it's Jaws third.
Oh, okay. Godzilla.
Again, not as heavy attachment to it as you might have had, should I say. Then it'll be King Kong. And Godzilla is at number 1.
Even though we've just ripped this film to bits.
No, but I'm more on, like you're doing with the King Kong remake, I'm basing it more on the Godzilla original and the whole idea of Godzilla himself, because I can't really say there's I have a particular favourite Godzilla film. There's aspects that I say good or bad, then there's always something you can take away from something so I can't really pin down an answer as to what I think would be the best Godzilla film. Really, and there's been some of them I haven't even got around to seeing yet, so I don't know if that's something you potentially interested in anyway with watching these other Japanese.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely give them a go.
But you've seen like I say, you've seen briefly some of the King of the Monsters, the more recent stuff, and that was, you quite enjoyed.
I did, yeah.
Again, that was a lot more going on with the special effects and everything, but
I think, to be honest, it is your main two are you King Kong and your Godzilla.
And well, I know with the pushbacks with how films are going at the moment, but that was supposed to come out this year. I don't even know if that's going to happen now. The Kong versus Godzilla.
No, I don't think I can call.
Well, Kong Skull Island one, not the Peter Jackson King Kong. So it's that really big one that was on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Yeah, not that one, because that wouldn't be a fair fight, because
No.
that's only a small one compared to a massive.
Still
thing,
think I'd
so.
want Kong to win, and you'll be like rooting
Yeah,
for
so
Godzilla.
be a proper. So
So
interesting.
you was mentioning about movie cinemas where you can actually pay. Is it like 50?
Yeah, they're starting to release things on demand on like Amazon and stuff now. So things like that. So that might be the case going forward for the foreseeable. We don't know, but we'll just have to see how things progress with new releases and stuff. But
At least you know you can still kind of hopefully capture some of them, so you're not missing out on
on
some
new
of them.
releases.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, well, have you enjoyed going over this month of monsters then?
Yeah, I think I have. I did get to a bit of a point where it's like it is a bit samey, and you've got. But then that's like a chick flick. It's the same. If you watched a month of chick flicks, I think you would be like, oh yeah, boy meets girl.
Yeah.
Like,
so unless it offered something different.
Yeah.
Which is what I tried to do, broaden the stroke of things. And with different ones, different settings. I tried.
No, you have, yeah. No. And there were. I did enjoy most of them.
Good.
There was just a couple where it was. And actually, to be fair, like Jaws, I was thinking I'm really dreading this film, and actually I was quite surprised at how much I did actually really enjoy it. So there was some surprise factors in there, but it'll be nice to go on to something now.
Yeah, something fresh. We'll try something a bit more light-hearted for next time.
I think we need a bit light-hearted at the time being.
Yeah, as it stands. Yeah, so okay, so we'll do that for next time. Yeah,
we might be able to do one that Paul hasn't seen. You never know. I know we've only done one of those, but I like it when you're the main man.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening. Just take care of yourselves. Make sure you're staying at home.
Yeah, in these trying times, just keep safe and
positive as well. That's what you need.
Positive, yeah.
And listen to loads of podcasts. That's the time where you can actually have time to do these things which you wouldn't normally get to do. To invest in things that you'd enjoy normally, which you'd think, oh, if I just had an extra day, I could just do this. So we'll definitely be doing these still weekly. It's nothing's going to change on our front, so
no,
you can always
rely on us
to keep you entertained.
Hopefully, yeah. So if you do enjoy what we're doing, just show your support by leaving us a like, comment, follow, and all that stuff.
Thank you also for your lovely comments and your ratings on iTunes, was it?
Yeah, Apple Podcasts, yeah.
Yeah, that's truly appreciated. I'm glad that somebody's actually enjoying them out there.
Yeah, keeps us motivated as well to keep doing this. So
thank you. Yeah, definitely. It means the world to me. I was well excited when I found out.
Yep. So again, you can listen to us on Podbean website and Apple Podcasts, as I say, and also on Spotify and most other places where you can get new podcasts from. So be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter under the handle SP Film Viewers, and we'll speak to you next time.
Yep, speak to you next time.
And take care, everyone.
Yep, stay at home.
Yeah, stay safe. So, goodbye for now.
See you later. Bye.
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 Bye.